everyone, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Bree. Hi, welcome if you're new here, or hey, what's up if you've been around for a little while. Today this is going to be a video that has not been planned because, needless to say, I have several weeks worth of videos plotted, and the video you're getting today has not been one of them. But I thought that would actually be kind of fun to do this anyway. So I just decided, when I was trying to think of something fun and exciting that was still relevant to my channel, I decided I wanted to do the Unpopular Opinions book tag. Because why not? It's always fun to talk about some things that you don't like. This book tag has been around for some time, and when I was researching it, it originated like 5 years ago from the book Archer. I personally have not watched her channel, but I've seen this tag running around in years since I've joined BookTube and since I started watching BookTube. So I just decided, let's give it a try. Why not, right? So what I want to do with this video is I have not watched an Unpopular Opinions book tag video in a little while, so I don't really remember exactly what the questions are. Thus, I am not preparing for this video, so I am going to run with it. Whatever comes off the top of my head, I'm going to talk about, and I think it's going to be fun that way. So if I'm not holding up books or if I'm not putting pictures in this video, it's just because this is meant to be spur of the moment. So without further ado, let's get into it. So the first question in this tag is a popular book or series that you didn't like. And I've definitely had my fair share of books I didn't like because we're human. I could name a couple series that I've either recently read or read in the past that didn't stick with me very well. Recently, I finished the Mortal Instruments series, and while I didn't hate it, it definitely wasn't one I loved nearly as much as half the people who are in that fandom love it. It was definitely just a little bit lukewarm. There were some parts that I really liked, and there were some characters I really loved. But a lot of times I was just kind of scratching my head and wondering why I was still reading the series. Similarly, the Hush Hush series by Becca Fitzpatrick, that was a series that it came around during the Twilight time and the Marked House and Ice series and that kind of stuff, all of those vampire books. And we started seeing the shift from vampires to fallen angels, or they were right around the same time. And when I read that series, I was well, before I even read it, I'm we're going to buy the whole series because, 4 books. Yeah, why not? I'm going to love it. So I read this in 2017, I think. So it was several years after it was published, and it did not. It did not go well. I do think my memory of Twilight, I felt that Hush Hush was a carbon copy of Twilight, but with fallen angels, Nephilim. I do feel it could have been interesting, but it was just really quintessential early young adult, early 2010s young adult, and it just felt so mundane. Because recently, and I've talked about this in my favorites of 2019 video, I'm reading an angel kind of series currently, and it's blowing my mind with how well it's done. So this series, it just fell flat. So I read 2 books. I think I read 3 pages of the 3rd book, closed it, and said, we're not doing this anymore. I'm not torturing myself. So I didn't jive with that series. And I do know that back in the day, it was a really popular series. I don't really hear anyone talking about it now on BookTube or the internet, but so be it. And then also, I would say probably another book, it's a series too that I can say, would be the Roshani Chokshi series, which is... Wow, now I'm forgetting it. I can't remember the first book. I unhauled this, so I can't even reference. But Crown of Wishes was the 2nd book in the series. The Star Touched Queen. So Star Touched Queen and Crown of Wishes. I knew when that book came out. I again think it was 2016 or 2017. I saw that, and the reason I bought the series was because BookTube was blowing up about it, how beautiful the writing was and how lush the world was. Could not get into it. It was just very confusing and dull for me. I didn't find there was nearly enough adventure to keep me interested, and overall, I read them both somehow, and I was why? And I unhauled it, so I would say those are probably the top 3 that come to mind when I think of books I disliked. Question number 2 is a popular book or series that everyone else seems to hate, when in reality, I love it. This one is actually kind of hard to think off the top of my head, and it is hard because I do think I typically like the general public's opinions on books. And I definitely know there's probably ones that I have loved that not other people have. But I will say in general, it seems like John Green's books are pretty polarizing. However, I've loved every single book I've read by him. I have not read all of his books, so let that be known. Like, I've definitely read a fair share, but I think there's like 2 that I haven't read yet, and I probably own them. But the ones that I've read are some of my favorite books of all times. So I know that he's kind of polarizing, and a lot of people can't relate to like his characters or just don't want to relate or whatever, but I absolutely love his characters, and that's part of the reason he's one of my favorite authors. So I could say that I like his books. Looking for Alaska is one of my all-time favorite. I also absolutely love Turtles All the Way Down, and I was very emotionally connected to The Fault in Our Stars. I even liked Paper Towns when I read it at first, but as I like grew from the story, I was kind of like about it. Like, it wasn't my favorite of his, but I really loved it when I was reading it at the time. So yeah, I'm a John Green sucker. What can I say? Also, I don't know if people hated this book necessarily, but I mentioned this before on my channel, but it was an honorable mention for my top 10 favorites of 2019, and that was Never Contented Things by Sarah Porter. I only saw a few reviews on this book, and the reviews were pretty negative overall. However, I go more in depth on my 2019 favorites, but I liked the tone of the story and what it was actually trying to do rather than like the whimsical world that was not really there. I think people were too hung up on this like fairy tale-esque, like about fairies, and like it wasn't about that. So I would say maybe that's probably an unpopular opinion, where I really liked that book and I didn't like another book by her. So yeah, I would say that's probably a good bet. Also, apologies if you can hear my washing machine in the background. It's pretty obnoxious. So there's that. So question number 3 is a love triangle where the main character didn't end up with the person you wanted them to be with, or an OTP you don't like. So if I'm trying to think of a love triangle, I will spoil my January wrap up now, because I am reading The Hunger Games for the second time in preparation for the new book series coming out. But originally when I read that book, I did not want Katniss to be with Peeta. However, I do think that opinion's gonna change, and I'm still debating if I want to do like an exclusive like how my opinions changed video on the Hunger Games series, because a lot of my opinions have been changing since I've been rereading this series. And I think I'm just looking at it in a different light and as an adult. But I wanted her to end up with Gale at the time I read it originally. I think that'd be different now. But if I can't really think of any other triangle where I didn't want her to end up. Although I could say the Stormcrow, if I was to continue with that series, because there's only one book out currently. The way that it was leaning towards at the end of the first book, I didn't want the main character to end up with that person. I abhorred him. He was awful. So if that series continued, no, I'm sorry. I said that wrong, because the series is continuing. I don't think I'm continuing to read the series, but if I would just predict already from the first book with how much I hated that character, that if the end of the series happened and she was still with him, that would be my pick, because I hated that character so much. As far as an OTP I don't like, Clary and Jace from the Mortal Instruments were god-awful together. I did not like them whatsoever. And also, because this is possibly spoilerly, I don't want to... If you don't want to know anything about the Grisha... The first trilogy, the Grisha trilogy, like Shadow and Bone and that, I would say don't listen to this part. But a lot of people had, like, Alina and the Darkling as an OTP, and I don't ship that personally. And I know that's not, like, endgame if you have finished the series, but... it was not my jam. I really liked the Darkling as a character, but I never wanted him with Alina. I never thought it was appropriate, and there was this really creepy darkness to him. I liked that, and I was attracted to him as a character, but not as a love interest. I'm glad it didn't pan out that way. Also, I guess, again, this could be changed in like a reread, but I guess that could also be the same thing. Like, I didn't really want Alina to end up with Mal originally. It's a very similar situation to Gale, Peeta, and Katniss, I think, where you have, like, Alina, Mal, and then you could say the Darkling or Nikolai. Like, you can replace either of those. But initially reading the Grisha trilogy, I didn't want Alina to end up with Mal. I kind of wanted her with Nikolai. But it is what it is. So question number 4 is a popular book genre that you hardly reach for. It's really hard to say, like, popular genres, because isn't every genre popular if it's a genre and people are reading it? But as far as what I would say, I don't reach for a lot of romance unless it comes in a variety or contemporary standard. Like, I don't like more of the adult romances where it's so heavy focused. Like, I like more substance to the books where, you know, like, they have, like, family problems or, like, there's a murder or something. Like, there's more drama involved than just the romance. So I don't really reach for that a lot. Self-help books are very similar too. I have read a few, especially in the last year. I was reading, like, quick ones on audiobook, but I don't typically reach for that either. It's just kind of, I have to be in the mood for it, because otherwise I'm pretty fantasy heavy, thriller, mysteries, contemporaries. Those are my main genres. Also, I don't reach for horror now, but I would love to reach for horror, because I do love horror movies. I keep saying that. I don't love horror movies because I think a lot of them are dumb. But what I like creepy thoughts. And when they're presented very well in a movie or a TV show, I like them a lot. So thinking like House on Haunting Hill, whatever. The Shirley Jackson novel. I can't talk today. This is what happens when you don't plan the videos. Oy. Okay, focus. That the New Mutants movie looks bomb. I can't wait. I love that kind of weird style horror. I like satire horror. The Cabin in the Woods, that was really good. Legion, the TV show, had a lot of creepy elements to it, which I would venture it's kind of like sci-fi superhero horror. Loved that though. So that's the kind of stuff I really like. So I would like to reach for horror more often. Yeah. Okay, let's stop rambling. Question number 5 is a popular or beloved character that you don't like. And for this, I'd probably have to go with Scarlet from the Caraval series by Stephanie Garber. I really did not like Scarlet in her own book. When she was written in the perspective of her sister, I typically liked her more. But in book number 1, Caraval, Scarlet kind of made me so mad so much of the time. I had a really hard time getting behind her. And I'm surprised I did. Like, I liked the story overall, and it was fascinating to me. So I think that's why I stuck with it all through the 3 books. But if it was just Scarlet and not the other elements, I probably would have DNF'd that series as well. Also, which actually, I can't even believe I forgot about this one. But, so spoiler alerts for the Throne of Glass series. Because you have to know who the character's name is by now, but maybe you don't know the connection. So if you don't want spoilers, I don't know, just maybe skip ahead like a minute, because I'll probably rant for a minute. So, Selena Sardothian. I hate her, actually. I hate her. I couldn't believe that wasn't my first answer, because, oh my God, was she the worst character in the entire world. When Selena was going under her... Well, actually... So this is the thing. With Selena, like, I actually liked when Selena was Selena. When she became Aelin and, like, took on that persona more, that's truly when I hated her. So, like, I really didn't like Selena, but when she became Aelin, I wished the Selena was back. Because I'm like, how do you have the same person and, like, a change of a name makes you horrible? But Aelin was, like, I just thought she was so brash and undeserving of everything she had. She made things complicated for no reason. She made things unbearable. And she was the main character. Like, how did I finish that series? Because she annoyed the shit out of me every second that I spent listening to that audiobook. Because I quit. I could not read the physical copy of that series. I had to listen to audio. And I persevered, man. Someone should give me a medal because I survived Elena. Aelin? Oh my God. Have I been saying Elena? Oh my God. This video is such a nightmare. Aelin. Whatever. Aelin was a nightmare too. I guess that just makes sense because I can't even say her name right. But a lot of what she did, and again, her personality when she was Aelin, made me so mad. And I didn't really like Selena for some of the things that she did as well, especially because there was a novella series that was supposed to, like, pull at your heartstrings and, like, say, like, why she lost the love of her life. And I have an entire rant on that novella. What is it? The Assassin's Blade. I have an entire rant on my Goodreads. You should go check it out if you're interested. but there was a lot of things that I just got so mad about because I'm like, you left so many easy answers. Like it shouldn't have been a choice for Selena / Aelin to make, but instead you like backed yourself into a corner as a writer because like everything that she chose to do was always going to be against them when she could have just said, okay, I gotta go do this, or we can do this instead, or we can run away. And this character would have still been alive. So yeah, sorry, that was a rant, but I hate Aelin. I hate her with the burning passion. Number 6 is a popular author you can't seem to get into. Again, I guess this is kind of hard. So I don't know if this is quite, if she's popular or not, because I do know she's very controversial, but Veronica Roth, even though I read the Divergent series, I did not like it. And it's, again, I think I continued that series because at the time, not finishing books wasn't a concept to me, and everyone was reading them, and it was becoming a movie, and I just felt like I had to. I mean, I took the last book of that series on my honeymoon to finish it because I was just so devoted. But I didn't enjoy it at all. And I didn't know if it was just because the concept wasn't fleshed out or like I didn't work with like Veronica's writing or whatever it was. But I was like, okay, you know, she's coming out with the new series. I'm going to give that a try. And then I read Carve the Mark and I hated everything about it again. So I, again, know that she's not like exactly popular, but she is pretty well known, and I'm just done. I'm not giving her books another chance. Like it wasn't my interest, I guess, at the end of the day. Also, I talked about this in my most disappointing reads of 2019, but Amy Rose Capetta I've seen on the uprise, and while I think she seems like such a very down-to-earth, fun person on her Instagram, I just don't really, I don't understand her writing. A lot of times I get very confused and I get lost in how like poetic it's trying to be. And I would just say, like, if she is like relatively popular, like I don't I don't want to say I don't like her, but I don't like her books necessarily. They're just not for me. Okay. Question number 7 is a popular book trope that you're tired of seeing. So I will say in general, this is probably not an unpopular opinion, I guess, but in general, I can give any trope a chance if it's well done. I've seen love triangles really well done or executed. I've seen kind of love triangles where they end up kind of like in a 3-way in a book, and that was kind of interesting. It was different as well. The Lost Princess stuff, The Chosen One, like all of those I like, and those are typically like they're common ones, so like I do gravitate them. So I think I'm just like, I'm so sick of seeing like the same cookie cutter one, essentially, like of any trope. Like if you literally give me like this formula but in a different setting, I'm probably not gonna like it. For instance, Children of Blood and Bone, I thought that's what happened. Like, it was, like, Chosen One, and the heir has magic, and it's, like, the magic's forbidden in the world. Like, there's a lot of tropes in that have been played out in tons and tons of books, especially young adult. But it was the same exact book to me as other books I've read, just in a different location. So for me, like, that really wasn't worth my time to read because I just felt like it was nothing new. But as far as something I'm sick of seeing, I don't really think I have one. I think I'm pretty, like, okay with whatever you're going to throw at me, as long as you do it well. Number 8 is a popular series you have no interest in ever reading, and I definitely have a few, and some of them are older. Like, I'm not sure what might be coming out, but I will definitely say Children of Blood and Bone, I have no interest in continuing that series. I'm not going to pick it up. It's just not, it wasn't interesting to me, so they might be really good and the series might go on, but I don't find that it's worth my time to continue with that series if I didn't enjoy the first one. Similarly, the Shatter Me trilogy or saga or whatever you're calling it, past my prime, I'm never going to pick it up. Just not something that I'm interested with. I've also unhauled the Fallen series, which was again about fallen angels, because after like owning the books for a couple years, I'm like, it's probably not worthwhile to me. I did that with the Maze Runner series. I enjoyed the movies. They were well enough for me. I don't think I necessarily need to read the books to get more enjoyment out of them, because I was in that phase a while where the movies would come out and I had to buy the books, but then I wouldn't read the books. So those are kind of series that I'm probably not really going to get to. Otherwise, I'm pretty open to everything if it sparks my interest. So the last one is, as the saying goes, the book's always better than the movie, but is there a movie or TV show adaptation which you prefer more than the book? So this is really hard because I've actually found like where I like things for different reasons. Like I don't necessarily, in my head, I can't really reason that it's definitely necessarily better. But the Lord of the Rings trilogy in movies are one of my favorite movie series of all times. I think they're perfection. I haven't read the books, so I can't really judge that. And I don't think they would be better than the books necessarily, but I just think they're so well done as a movie. So I have to give credit where credit's due. One of my favorite series of all time, and it has made me want to pick up the book several times yet. Here we are, not picking them up. The Magicians TV show on Sci-Fi, one of my favorite television shows of all time. I absolutely adore it. I have read the first book of that series. It's a trilogy by Lev Grossman, and I really liked the book too, but the book was so slow, and I think seeing the visuals of how this like magical college and fighting like these enemies were just brought everything to life to me. And I do know that the show brings a lot of elements back from the books, but it's not really the same at all. So as of now, I can say I probably do like the show a little bit better than the book series, but I'll have to see once I actually finish that series because it's not really fair to me to say that right now. Also, The Hunger Games, the second movie, Catching Fire, was one of my favorite movie adaptations of all time. I remember leaving the theater the first time I saw that movie going, that was incredible. Like it's everything I ever wanted from an adaptation. Now, I am rereading the second book currently as I'm making this film, and I could definitely see there is some parts that they probably had to cut out for time's sake, but I still think they did an excellent job with the movie. Don't think it quite could replace the book, but I really love how much effort they put to keep it very true to its form. As far as upcoming goes, I really love Leigh Bardugo's the Grishaverse, the Grisha trilogy and the Six of Crows duology, but the show might be able to surpass how much I love it because I do think it's a very visual world in her books, and I think seeing that on the TV for Netflix might do really well. Also recently, which I might do a dedicated review for too, the Looking for Alaska Hulu adaptation was phenomenal. Blew my mind. It brought back a lot of fond memories. It made me very sad at a lot of times. So I haven't reread that book in a long time, but that as of now, like that's a very, very good adaptation. So I encourage you to go watch it if you're interested. But yeah, I think those are a couple. This is probably much, much longer than I wanted this video to, but this is what happens when you have no idea what you're doing and you throw yourself into a video with 5 minutes to spare. So without going into another ramble, I appreciate you guys watching this, and I hope you enjoyed my unpopular opinions, even though I'm pretty mellow when it comes to unpopular opinions, I would say. But let me know down below. What do you think? Have you done your own version of this tag? Let me know below. I'll go check it out. Do you agree with any of my opinions? And, you know, for the ones that I kind of like skimmed the answer on, such as the trope question, let me know down below what your answers would be. So until next time, guys, thanks for watching, and I'll see you then. Bye.